Welcome to Pemberley Farm. Today we're going to do a brief video about canning. Now this is not Canning 101 where we actually talk about how to can, but we're going to talk about some of the resources that that would be helpful to you to learn how to can, and some of the tools you have. First of all though, the first question would be, why would I want to do this? Because I can go to Publix or Walmart or wherever and get canned goods myself. Why would I have to do that? Well, one of the main reasons that I like to can is because I know what's in the jar. Most of the time I grew it or somebody I know grew it, and so I know what's in that jar. I don't know that necessarily when I buy it from the grocery store. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is if I grew it, or I've swapped out produce with a friend and they grew it, it's cheaper because it's basically free. You know, seeds are cheap. Seeds are cheap, and fertilizer or compost, you know, if you compost yourself, you know, that's free basically. So it's much cheaper than if you went to the grocery store and did it. The taste and the nutrition, I think, would be better than things that are in the cans in the grocery store, and here's why. Now I know that canning is not as nutritious necessarily as freezing the product because you're heating it and you're doing away with some of the nutrition, but think about the stuff in the grocery store. You have no idea how long that fresh food laid out somewhere, even in a refrigerated somewhere, before it was canned. This way you know that you bring it in, you process it immediately. The next things I want to talk about are resources for you. Everybody, I would imagine, has heard of the Ball Blue Book of Canning. I think they put them out every year. I've got at least 2 of them. One is really old, and so I don't even know what year this one is. It doesn't matter. They basically are the same. They may change a little bit over time. But so this is the book that most everybody knows. Walmart sells them. A lot of places sell them. And they're like $5 or something like that. I don't know. They could have gone up, but basically around $5. So this will show you how to can most anything you want to can. It gives you the times, if you're pressure can, whether you need to pressure can it or water bath can it, all of that kind of stuff. It's going to give you basic information about the how-tos. Now also, an excellent source, and one that you really should get, and it's not, this book is $10 on Amazon, that's not very expensive, and it is the USDA Complete Guide to Home Canning. There is no frills in this book, okay? There's no pictures, it's just information about each of the items you want to can, whether it's just one ingredient or whether it's multiple ingredients. It's a very good book. It's a book that you should have. It'll tell you everything you need to know about canning. Now the Ball people also came out with one that also tells you, you know, the nuts and bolts of canning, but then it's got a whole lot of recipes in it, like, you know, the pie filling and the chili sauce and the talks about preserves. I mean, all kind of things. It gives you recipes of multi-ingredient things so that to can. So this is another good one. And the last one I want to talk to you about is the Amish Canning Cookbook. This is a great little cookbook. Again, it gives you the basics for canning, but then it also gives you recipes for really simple things. It's really easy to understand, and it gives you recipes for really simple things that you can and have on the shelf for your family. And going back, I want to go back a minute to why would I do this? Well, another of the main reasons, besides that I know what's in it, and it is cheaper, to me it is cheaper once you have the initial outlay because the canners last you for years and years. It's a convenience. Very convenient. Say if you work outside the home and you come home and you're tired and you forgot to take something out of the refrigerator or out of the freezer to thaw, but you have some canned chicken that you canned on the shelf in your pantry. Chicken and rice is a breeze. So you've got, if you've canned chicken, you've also canned broth from that chicken. And so you've got the chicken and the broth, chicken and rice. You've canned green beans. So you open up the chicken and the broth. You have chicken and rice, and you have green beans. If you've canned carrots, you could add carrots to that meal. So you see, it's very convenient. It is, to me, is the ultimate in convenience food. The drive-through or the boxed junk at Walmart is not what I consider convenience food. Going out to my pantry and picking up those things and basically just warming them is a great thing. Okay, so now I want to talk about some of the tools of canning. You know, canning, no matter whether you pressure can or you water bath can, you're dealing with very hot jars in very hot water. And one of the first things you're going to need is a jar lifter. And what this does is pick up the jar under the lip so that you can not get burned. That's an important thing. You don't want to get burned. This happens to be sweet potatoes that I canned a couple of days ago. First time I've canned sweet potatoes, so I can't wait in a few weeks to open a jar and see how they go. So a jar lifter is a must-have. There's just no way around having a jar lifter. This one has a spring load. You can get them without it. You know, either way, a jar lifter, whether it's a spring-loaded or not, a jar lifter is a must. All right, a lid lifter is, you know, for years I used a fork and was just careful about picking up my lids, because I put my lids in my rings and I put them in hot water in a bowl. And so for years I just was very careful and picked up my ring with the edge of a fork and did that. But this way I can pick it up even at the edge and the ring stays on, and I've got the lid, and I just put it over the jar and tighten down the lid, and there we are. So a lid lifter, this thing you need is a funnel. A funnel enables you to, it's much easier to put whatever you're using inside the jar, and it also helps keep the rim of your jar clean. Okay, so you want to keep that as clean as possible. Even though you're going to wipe it off before you seal it, you still want to keep it as clean as possible up front. All right, also, let me say that on these lids, this is the lid, this is the ring. On the lids, you only use them once. Now, I know that there are people who say, well, I've reused mine and everything was fine. It never, listen, it may be 1,000 times may be great, but it only takes one time of making somebody really, really sick to wish that you had used new lids. New lids are not that expensive, and it is less expensive than the food you're going to lose, and it's much less expensive than a doctor bill. So always use new lids, always. All right, so now the ladle. To help, you know, ladle out of your pot and into your jar. But I'll tell you this, sometimes ladles are just too small for me. Depends on what I'm putting up. What I also use a lot of times is my 2-cup measuring cup, because when I'm, you know, most everything I put up in quarts. I do put some things up in pints, and especially if I'm putting it up in quarts, I will use this 2-cup measuring cup to dip out of the pot and into my jar. It's faster, okay? I realize it's not a huge amount faster, but it will take me several dips with the ladle, and I can do it much faster with the measuring cup. One more thing that we want to talk about as far as tools, and these will come in your water bath canner. They should. If you buy a used one, they might not. But these are the racks that your jars sit in. Now, they sit in here like this. I hate these racks. Now, that's all they make anymore, is this kind of rack. Now, let me show you. This is out of my ancient, larger, it'll hold 9 jars. You see the difference? See, there's no way for the jar to topple over here. It is just much more secure. The jars are much more secure. There's more, in every area, they're more secure. Now I understand that I can't do anything about that because they don't make these anymore. This is what they make, and I consider them junk. But that's all you have, you know, that's all you have. So that's what you use. So let me say though, if you ever find a rack like this used somewhere, now you can see, you can tell it's old. I mean, it's
Rusty.
It's rusty looking. It's probably 40 years old, this counter. It has been well used. So, but I'm just saying, if you ever find this rack somewhere at a yard sale or at a flea market or something, get it. These racks are so much safer and so much better than these little things. Now, when you have this loaded, it's not as likely to tip over, but I still hate these racks. Just my personal opinion. All right, so now we're going to talk about the canners themselves. And first up is water bath canning. Now, in water bath canning, all you're going to do in this is high acid foods or fruit that are, you know, like blueberries in syrup or blueberry jam or whatever. Sweet things or high acid foods like tomatoes. So that's what you're going to use the water bath canner for. And the reason for that is low acid foods like regular vegetables and meat, these canners do not get hot enough. The pressure canners get much hotter, and so that does away with the bacteria and with the chance of getting botulism. So water bath canners first. And you see I have two sizes here. They're kind of dusty because they were on a shelf. We keep them in an outbuilding that gets dusty. And so, because I've not done any water bath canning lately, I've been just doing pressure canning. So anyway, there's two sizes. You see this. This is that ancient one that's got the wonderful rack in it. So that's two sizes. I think one like this is around 20 bucks at Walmart. These are probably 30, 35, I think, maybe if you can find them at an old-fashioned hardware store. But usually I've not ever seen one this big at Walmart. This one holds 9 jars. This one holds 7. Okay, so now we're going to talk about pressure canners. Now, you can buy, just like with the water bath canners, you can buy used ones, you can buy new ones. And something I didn't say about that with the water bath ones as well as these is always look them over really well. Make sure there's no dents that has caused a hole in the bottom, or especially along the edge here on the water bath ones. But on the pressure canners, you have to think about if it has a gauge, about the gauge, all the parts in the top that create the pressure you have to think about and make sure that they're in good shape. And so let's talk about these though. Now this one is my son's, and it is ancient. I have no idea how to operate this. I've never canned in this, but he has. He's canned quite a bit in here. This is an old Burpee. It says Burpee Aristocrat cooker, but it is a canner. It is a canner because he did a lot of research on the internet when he first found this. So, like I say, he's canned a good bit of stuff in here over time, and I just thought it was interesting, so I thought I would show it to you. It hadn't been used in a good long time. It's been sitting on a shelf. Now, my very first pressure canner was this one. This is an old Miro. I assume they still make Miro. I know that most people now, if they have one that doesn't have a gauge, they usually have a Presto. But this is my original old Miro that I have canned, Lord only knows how many quarts and pints of things. Now this one, you can stack pints or half pints, but you can't stack quarts in. And every pressure canner should come with one of these racks. And if it's one that you can stack in, it should come with 2. So like you put this on the bottom because you don't want your jar touching the very bottom of the canner. Okay, you don't want your jar touching the very bottom of the canner. You want it sitting on this. See, it's got a lip that keeps it up off the bottom. So then you would put your jars on here, and if you're going to stack, then you would put this one on top of that. Okay, and that way you can a lot more in one canner. again, you can't stack in this one, but you can do pints in this one. Now this is my newest one, and it is a All-American canner. And can I tell you how much I love All-American canners? They do not have the rubber seal. Oh, the seal's not on this one, it's inside. But these old ones like this have a rubber seal that goes right there. This one is metal on metal, does not have a rubber seal. Okay? They are wonderful. It has, now, I've canned for 50 years probably, and I don't know where these have been all my life. I'm telling you, they're a wonderful thing. They have a gauge, and then this is the weight that you put on, whether it's 5, 10, or 15 pounds of pressure. And I got this one used, even though it looks brand new, doesn't it? I was so tickled. A lady had taken a canning class somewhere and thought that she just really wanted to do this, so she bought one and canned chicken a couple of times and decided that this was just not something she was interested in doing. And so she sold me this at a very good price, and I was, needless to say, very tickled. The box, I mean, it all looked brand new. You can see that it does. So anyway, this is what I canned the sweet potatoes you saw in, was this one, so I could do it in the house. But anyway, and that's why I wanted this one, so I could do it in the house, and I wouldn't necessarily have anybody here helping me, and it would just be an easier thing. Because when we do a lot of canning, pressure canning, we do it in this bad boy. This is the 931 or the 930, can't remember, I'll have to look. Anyway, you can double stack quarts in this bad boy, and again, it's an All-American. Has the gauge and for the where you put the 10, 15, 5, 10, 15 pounds of pressure. And you can tell this one has been well used in the years since I've had it. And we use it outside. We've got a big, like a camp stove on its own legs. It's, you know, it's a heavy duty camp stove on its own legs that's got 3 burners. And so we put it on that, and we do it under a porch outside. And that way it doesn't heat the house up as much, and it's just so big, it's too big to go under this range hood on the stove. Where this one is shorter, much shorter, and it works better inside. So I'm going to try to not make this one look like this one as long as possible. But anyway, it works. And how you work these is you do the you put these up and do them, you know, opposites, and you tighten it down, and then you've got a seal metal to metal, and they're a wonderful thing. The coming up to pressure is much easier. Getting to adjust them in what you might call the sweet spot, so that they're right where they're supposed to be as far as the amount of pressure. It's just much easier than this old Miro that I used for 35 years probably. So and yes, All-American canners are expensive. They're much more expensive than a Presto or a Miro. They are. But think about this. You will use this forever. You can hand it down to your children. You can even have the gauges checked and things done. You can buy replacement parts of the parts that something might happen to, even replacement gauges. And your cooperative extension service in most places will test your gauge and test your lid for you. So if you get a used one and you're not sure if exactly right, take it to your extension service. Call them and see if they do that for you. And if they don't, they might know somebody who does. Buying one used is a wonderful thing. It's much cheaper. And like I say though, even if you end up paying full price, it's worth it, because my daughter will have this long after I'm gone. This will still be in use. As long as you care for them, take care of them, they'll still be in use. As a matter of fact, This one, when we finish using it, it goes back in the box it came in. We save the boxes so that it can stay not so, so that it's protected more. So they're a wonderful thing. I'd say save your pennies so you can get an All-American. I can't recommend it high enough. If you just can't do it and you want to start canning, pressure canning now, buy one of the cheaper ones. But move toward this if you can, because it's so much easier. It's time saving. That, to me, that's the thing. It's time saving. So anyway, and I do not get any money. I'll have to say, I don't get any money from All-American. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that. I just love these canners. Okay, this is just a testimonial of somebody that loves these canners. And sometimes they do put them on sale, so you can watch for that. They do markdowns like on Amazon or on the All-American site. So keep a watch out for that, and you might get lucky. So anyway, I think I've talked long enough today. We're going to do more in this series. This is just the first in a series on canning, where we actually do water bath canning, one single ingredient. We actually do pressure canning, one single ingredient, and then we will do some kind of soup or stew or something that's like a dish that you would put in a jar and can. We'll show you that. So this, I'm not going to say how often they'll come, but this is the beginning of the series on canning and how to and things that you can do in your canning. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and share. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, we are Pemberley Farm, and we also have a page called Pemberley Farm Friends. So check them both out on Facebook. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day from Pemberley Farm.